My friend and I joined the cast of a prank reality show. The producers planned to dress up as ghosts to scare the guests in a small mountain village. What they didn't expect was to attract 100 actual ghosts, which surrounded the village. But they didn't know that I'm an exorcist. And my friend? She asked the last of the great geomancers. Hi everyone. I'm Keith, a spirit medium. My name is Sean, and I'm a paranormal expert. After introducing themselves, they both turned to me. I cleared my throat. I'm Lucy and I'm an exorcist. This is Faye, my apprentice and assistant. I can read palms and tarot cards, do numerology and astrology, dowsing, feng shui, and locate ley lines. I also hunt ghosts, perform exorcisms, break curses, lift hexes, summon spirits, and banish demons. After I finished, the set went dead silent. Sean looked at me, his face full of admiration. Wow, you really know how to sell it. Keith nodded. That's not the way to do it though. You won't make any money. People are harder to fool these days. They prefer specialists. A simpler title is always better. Is that right? I scratched my head, about to explain. But the director was already walking over. We were on a pretty famous prank show, filming in a rundown, abandoned mountain village. The crew would dress up as ghosts to scare the guests. The more terrified the guests got, the more viewers the show pulled in. Lately, the show's ratings had been slipping, so the director came up with a new angle. He found a few popular paranormal streamers online to be guests. Apparently, audiences would rather see self-proclaimed ghost hunters and spirit summoners get scared out of their wits than regular people. Alright everyone, we're about to start filming. Get ready. Lucy, Jenna, could you two come over here for a sec? Before I could react, Jenna was already trotting over to him. That girl had gotten on the show by pulling strings. The producers had already hired Faye and me, and the cast was full. But Jenna had pestered Faye relentlessly until Faye, at her wit's end, finally called the producer and forced them to squeeze Jenna in. I know you two have some real skills, the bald director said, pushing up his glasses and giving us a meaningful look. But for the sake of the show, I hope that when you get scared, you can really perform. Director, what kind of performance are you looking for? The director coughed lightly into his fist. Ahem, just a more exaggerated, intense reaction. We can't let the audience down, right? I stared at him, speechless. Director, I'm a paranormal streamer. It would be a little ridiculous for me to freak out over a fake ghost, wouldn't it? You want me to tank my own reputation? Jenna got angry too. Exactly. We're well-known figures. You'll have to pay extra for that. After getting paid, Jenna ignored my protests and dragged me away, completely satisfied. It was an ancient little village. Many of the houses didn't even have electricity. The production team had set up base in the village's central chapel. A black-on-white plaque hung over the dilapidated entrance, reading, "Honor the ancestors and remember kin." I looked up at the sign. This place used to be where the village held funerals. It served as the wake hall for the entire community. On the right side of the main hall, there was even an old coffin. The production team really knew how to pick a spot. A normal person would probably already be terrified by the atmosphere alone. Okay, recording is about to begin. Everyone take your seats. To heighten the horror effect, the camera crew was minimal. After setting up the cameras, the director and staff cleared out, heading to another room to watch the video feed. The five of us sat in a circle in the vast, empty hall. A single, yellowed light bulb dangled from the rafters. The flickering light, combined with the coffin off to the side, maxed out the scare factor. How about we tell one-sentence horror stories? Sean, a popular paranormal influencer who got famous for his good looks, was the first to speak. A ton of women would pretend to encounter ghosts just to meet him. The most ridiculous were the ones who pretended to be possessed by lustful spirits just to get close to him. His female clients were certainly creative. I gave him a discreet once-over. Fair skin, tall and well-built, he really was quite handsome. Compared to him, the medium, Keith, was pretty average-looking. About 5'7", small eyes, dark skin, nothing special. Seeing that we were all looking at Sean, Keith couldn't help but jump in. I'll go first. We'll each tell a ghost story and see whose is the scariest. I was tucking my son into bed when he told me, "Daddy, check for monsters under my bed." I laughed and looked underneath for his amusement and saw him, another him, under the bed, staring back at me, quivering. "Daddy," he whispered, "there's somebody in my bed." Keith pinched his voice to sound like a child, and right at the end, he grabbed Sean's ankle. "Ah!" Sean screamed and jumped up from the floor, his mouth open so wide he sprayed spit everywhere. I looked up at him in admiration. The body language, the expression, the acting, it was top-notch. I wondered how much extra the director paid him. "Whoa, Keith. You know what they say, people scaring people is the scariest thing of all." Keith was laughing so hard he was practically rolling on the floor, clearly proud of himself for scaring Sean. Sean looked a little embarrassed. He rubbed his nose awkwardly. "I was just playing along. Now it's my turn." Sean and Faye were sitting with their backs to the coffin, while Jenna and I sat opposite them. Just as Sean finished speaking, I saw the coffin lid move slightly. Jenna noticed it too. She gave me a look, then pretended like nothing had happened and continued listening to Sean's story. I instantly understood what she was thinking. Faye was about to get the scare of her life. The thought of Faye jumping 3 feet in the air, completely freaked out, made me a little excited. Sean was still telling his story with great enthusiasm. Behind him, the coffin lid slowly slid open, and a withered, blue-green hand reached out. The skin on the hand was stretched tight against the bone, looking like it belonged to a mummy. The sharp nails were long and black, almost identical to the zombies you see in movies. The makeup artist on this show is amazing. Jenna and I exchanged a glance, our anticipation growing. The person in the coffin leaped out, landing silently on the floor without so much as a whisper of wind. I couldn't help but be impressed. The wire work was incredible. The actor playing the zombie must have had martial arts training. That landing was high-level stuff. You couldn't pull off a jump that perfect without some serious skills. Tattered clothes, a few strands of graying hair, and that gaunt, ashen face. The more I looked, the more amazed I was. It was so realistic. This was an incredible zombie costume. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. The zombie hopped right behind Faye and stood there silently. Faye seemed to sense something was wrong. She shot up and spun around. Ah! The scream I was waiting for finally came, but it was from Sean. He was so scared he scrambled away, tears flying from his eyes. Faye, on the other hand, was expressionless. She even rolled her eyes in contempt. Right. She hadn't taken the director's money, so she didn't have to act scared. Jenna and I were both disappointed. That girl Faye was way too brave, not reacting at all. Ahem. I cleared my throat, trying to signal Faye to at least pretend. Her calm demeanor was going to make it hard for the rest of us to act our parts. The next second, a painful, shrill scream ripped from Faye's throat. A hand had pierced through her shoulder, its sharp nails bursting through her back. Her white shirt was torn, and blood dripped from the 5 black nails that had gone straight through her. Jenna's face went pale. "Lucy, this is bad. It's a real zombie." The zombie opened its mouth and lunged for Faye's neck. Faye kicked it squarely in the chest, sending it flying back as she ripped herself off its claws. My mind went blank for a second. I was born with the sight no ghost or ghoul could hide from my eyes. But this zombie had been here for a while, and I hadn't sensed any trace of necrotic energy or death aura on it. Faye clutched her bleeding shoulder and stumbled back a few steps. I rushed forward and started fighting the zombie. It was only when I was right on top of it that I realized my hands were empty. I turned and yelled to Jenna, who was helping Faye. Jenna grabbed the gear. Jenna helped Faye sit down, then ran to the corner to get our bags. The director had told us not to carry them during filming, so we'd stashed them in the corner. They held everything Jenna and I used to make a living. "Lucy." Someone swapped our stuff. Jenna held up a plastic toy sword in her left hand and a handful of white rice in her right. The rock salt was replaced with regular table salt. Damn it. Jenna looked devastated. She threw the toy sword down and beat her chest in agony. That was my Peachwood sword. 1,000-year-old lightning-struck Peachwood sword. I cursed under my breath. This zombie had already evolved into a Viridian class. It was immune to fire and water, incredibly strong, and a group of 3 to 5 adults wouldn't even be able to get near it. Now that our ritual tools had been switched, trying to kill this thing with brute force was just a pipe dream. What are you guys doing? Whoa, the director's really playing favorites. Your script is so much more exciting than ours. We've got nothing. Sean and Keith had gathered around Faye, curiously examining her blood-soaked shoulder. Sean even reached out and touched it. How do you rig this blood pack? It even smells like blood. Is this chicken blood or pig blood? Hey, are you guys just going to stand there and chat? A little help here. This Viridian zombie was insanely strong. Getting hit by it felt like being slapped with a steel plate. The pain almost brought tears to my eyes. I glanced over. Sean and Keith were busy studying Faye's wound, and Jenna was mourning her lost gear. No one was paying any attention to me. After I managed to kick the zombie away with all my might, it hesitated for a moment, then turned and started hopping toward Faye and the others. Jenna, run. As a geomancer, Jenna's skills in stargazing and feng shui were second to none, but she'd always been afraid of pain and hard work. Her fighting skills were mediocre, probably on par with Faye's right now. Seeing the zombie hopping toward them, Sean didn't panic. Instead, he took a couple of steps toward it. Wow, buddy, your makeup is incredible. And you can jump so far. Let me see these nails. Whoa, they're really hard. Hey Keith, come look. What do you think these nails are made of? Sean and Keith were both outgoing and a bit too friendly. They had just met but were already acting like best buds. Right now they were huddled together, heads touching, examining the zombie's nails. Seeing her chance, Jenna quickly helped Faye up and started inching toward the door. Holding my breath, I pulled a 5 Thunder talisman from my pocket. I hadn't brought many with me, and the rest were in the bag. Every one I used was one less I had. The zombie stood there for a moment, letting them hold its hand, looking confused. When it finally snapped out of it, it slapped Sean aside and grabbed Keith by the neck, lifting him up like a chick. This is where height really matters. If it had been Sean, at least his toes would still be touching the ground. Hey, you're for real? I'm out. Keith's eyes rolled back in his head, and his tan skin turned a purplish red, which only made him look uglier. The zombie held him up, tilted its head, and was about to sink its teeth into his neck. At the last second, I shot out from the side and shoved the talisman into the zombie's wide-open mouth. Boom! The lightning sigil blew the zombie's head to pieces. Bits of flesh and skin splattered all over Keith's face. I jumped out from behind Keith, relieved. If I hadn't been so quick, that mess would have been all over me. A wretch. Who knows how long that zombie had been dead, but the pungent, rotten stench now drenched Keith. I took a couple of disgusted steps back and went to help Sean, who had been knocked to the ground and couldn't get up. You're telling me that zombie was real? Sean's face was pale, his lips trembling. So ghosts are real? I looked at him suspiciously. Aren't you a paranormal expert? Keith, having wiped his face, managed a smile that was uglier than crying. It's just a way to make a living. There's less competition in this industry, the pay is good, and you don't have to take crap from anyone. I used to be a programmer. Sean nodded, his face a mask of misery. Yeah, I'm really just a social media content creator. We had made a huge commotion, but not a single crew member had come to check on us. A knot of dread formed in my stomach. Had something happened to the rest of the production team? Lucy, quick over here. Jenna shouted from the doorway. I ran over immediately, and seeing me run, Keith and Sean followed close behind. Faye was infected with corpse venom. Her face was turning blue, and her lips were black. She gripped my hand tightly, her eyes filled with unwillingness and regret. Lucy, can you promise me one thing? The wound was very close to her heart. In just a quarter of an hour, the venom had already reached it. She was beyond saving. Jenna's face was a mask of pure panic. Lucy, my sight isn't working either. It feels like someone set up a formation here. All our powers are useless. Faye, if we don't draw out the venom from Faye's wound, she's going to turn into a walking corpse. I pressed down hard on Faye's wound, my eyes turning red before I even realized it. This was all my fault. If I hadn't taken this job for the money, if I had recognized that it was a real zombie, Faye wouldn't be in this mess. Lucy, Faye struggled to get a few words out, but before she could finish, her hand went limp, and her eyelids fluttered shut. My heart shattered. Jenna was already sobbing. Faye. The next second, Faye's eyes snapped open. With lightning speed, she lunged and bit Jenna on the neck. Ah! Jenna screamed and shoved Faye away. I was shocked and furious, wanting to restrain Faye, but afraid of hurting her. It's over, I'm going to get infected too. I still have $3,000 in my account I haven't spent. To die with money left in the bank, I can't accept this. Ha 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 ha. Oh my god, I'm dying. Faye was clutching her stomach, rolling on the floor with laughter. The movement tore at her wound, and she winced in pain, but she couldn't stop laughing. Jenna stood there, tears on her face, mouth agape, looking like a complete idiot. I fought to hold back my own tears and smacked Faye on the head. You little demon. Prepare to die. That psycho Faye, using something like this to scare people. Realizing she'd been tricked, Jenna let out a cry of rage and pounced on Faye. I'm going to strangle you. I was just thinking about my last words. The two of them rolled around on the floor. I rolled my eyes and pulled Jenna off. What last words? Your blood is Trinity blood. It's immune to all poisons and repels all evil. A little corpse venom is nothing. I stopped mid-sentence. Jenna and I both froze. That's right. We might not have the rock salt and other things needed to expel corpse venom, but both my blood and Jenna's were special. They could work as an antidote. Realizing this, I quickly grabbed Jenna's hand. Faye, you can be saved. Jenna's blood is Trinity blood. From the one came the three. The three pure ones are the most powerful gods in the Taoist pantheon. Just imagine how powerful her blood must be to be called Trinity blood. A little dab on your wound, and you'll be cured in no time. Jenna waved her hands frantically, looking undeserving of the praise. Oh no, my blood is nothing compared to Lucy's. Lucy has umbral blood. When Yin reaches its peak, Yang is born. The ultimate Yin is also the ultimate Yang. Her blood contains the life-giving force of pure Yang energy. That power is immense, it can destroy any evil in this world. A little corpse venom? It's laughable. It's nothing in the face of Lucy's umbral blood. I grabbed Jenna's hand tighter. You're more powerful. Stop being so modest. Hurry up, cut your hand and put some on Faye's wound. Jenna desperately tried to back away. No, you're more powerful. You're 100 times more powerful than me. Compared to you, I'm just a nobody. You're the powerful one. Your blood is the best in the world. I'm just trash compared to you. Ha ha ha. How can a mere firefly compete with the bright moon? You are the supreme bloodline. I'm not even worthy to carry your shoes. Faye pulled a dagger from her boot and grabbed Jenna. All right, stop arguing. If you're both so great, then let's get a little from each of you. She didn't mess around. Soon, both my and Jenna's middle fingers had deep cuts on them. After applying the blood, Faye's face quickly changed from blue to pale, and her blackened lips gradually returned to a rosy color. I let out a huge sigh of relief and sat down on the ground, wiping sweat from my brow. As long as Faye was okay. That little stunt of hers had scared the soul right out of me. Excuse me, but shouldn't we be looking for the others? Sean timidly raised his hand. He and Keith were huddled together, looking small and helpless. His words snapped me back to reality. This place had been set up with a formation clearly. Whoever did this came prepared. The director and the crew were all normal people. I wondered if something had happened to them. You guys rest here. I'll go check. The words were barely out of my mouth before everyone present objected. Our ritual tools were useless, our powers were nullified, and my sight was gone. In this place, my fighting ability was our best asset. I had no choice but to take them with me. We looked like a game of eagle-catching chicks. I was the mother hen, and they were all my little chicks. Besides the main hall, the chapel had 3 rooms on the east and west sides. The director and his team were in the far left room on the northeast side. The door was open. The room was filled with all sorts of equipment, but it was all scattered on the floor. The chairs had been kicked over. Director, are you in there? The room was dimly lit. I scanned my surroundings cautiously and finally found the director under a table, covered in blood. Director, are you okay? I slapped his face a few times. When he didn't respond, I pinched the pressure point under his nose hard. Ghosts. There are ghosts. The pinch finally woke him up. He flailed his arms wildly in the air, and when he saw us, he immediately lunged forward, trying to hug me. Oh Lucy, you're finally here. There are ghosts. I dodged to the side in disgust. The director ended up grabbing Sean, who was standing next to me. Why are you the only one here? Where's everyone else? At this, the director got even more agitated, crying and sniffling. You have no idea how scary it was. I was watching the video feed when Zhang suddenly went crazy. He stabbed 2 people with a knife and then started biting and scratching everyone else. He even bit a chunk out of Chen's neck. And the assistant director grabbed a club from somewhere and started beating us with it. He hit me once and I passed out. They must be possessed by ghosts. This place is terrifying. This director was a real chatterbox. He clung to Sean, refusing to let go, babbling on and on about how scared and helpless he was. I never should have taken this show. Really, if I hadn't taken this show, I wouldn't be here. If I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have gotten into all this trouble. Oh, they're all missing. They can't all be dead. Can they? I've lost so much. I have to pee. Lucy, can you come to the bathroom with me? The bathroom was directly across the courtyard from this room. I really couldn't be bothered with this cowardly, motor-mouthed director. Let Sean and Keith go with you. I need to find the others. Sean and Keith were reluctant, but it seemed Sean had been holding it for a while too. They had no choice but to bite the bullet and go with the director. Jenna helped Faye sit down to rest on the side. I walked out of the room and went into the empty room next door. The production team had set it up as a break room. The small space was filled with simple cots. Anyone here? I called out a couple of times and walked in. Just as I was about to look around, someone shot out from under a cot and grabbed my leg. Oh Lucy, you're finally here to save us. Wait. Isn't that the cameraman, Mike? The same guy the director said had gone crazy and stabbed people. Mike was wearing a black long-sleeved shirt, the white print on the chest stained with blood. He was thrilled to see me, and the words tumbled out of him in a rush. Dude, the director went nuts. He just started attacking us with a knife. Chin got stabbed in the chest and ran out. He's definitely dead. Oh my God. The assistant director went crazy too. Everyone scattered. I don't know what happened to the others. Lucy, you have to go save them. The hair on my arm stood on end. I took 2 steps back, putting some distance between me and Mike. You said who was attacking people? In this bizarre place, my sight was completely useless. I had no way of telling whether Mike or the director was lying. Thinking of Sean and Keith, who had gone to the bathroom with the director, a chill ran down my spine. I bolted out of the room and ran toward the bathroom across the courtyard. Lucy, why are you running? Seeing me run, Jenna and Faye quickly followed. As soon as I took off, Mike scrambled after me. Lucy, wait for me. Don't leave me behind. Seeing Mike, Jenna and Faye realized something was wrong. Soon, all of us were crowded in front of the bathroom. Why are you all looking at me like that? It's giving me the creeps. The bathroom was simple. Just 2 stalls with their doors shut tight. Keith, who was standing to the side, jumped when our group came rushing over. He looked especially scared when he saw Mike and hid behind me. Whoa, isn't Mike possessed? Mike looked completely wronged and immediately repeated what he had just told me. After he finished, there was a moment of silence. We all instinctively took a step back, looking at him warily. You have to believe me. The director is really possessed. I turned to Keith. Where are the director and Sean? Keith pointed to the stalls. They both said they had a stomachache and had to go, so I'm waiting here. The 2 stalls were right next to each other. We had made such a racket, but Sean hadn't said a word. Could something have happened to him? Sean. Say something, Sean. Keith yelled a few times, but the bathroom remained silent. Lucy, what do we do? Seeing the hopeful look in Keith's eyes, I motioned for everyone to step back, took a running start, and kicked the stall door open. Sean shrieked and covered his face. Close the door. Nobody look. Is there something wrong with this guy? He's just taking a dump. Does he really have to pull his pants down that low? I wanted to gouge my eyes out. I staggered back 2 steps and grabbed onto Jenna for support. It's over. My eyes are tainted. My eyes. Jenna patted my shoulder sympathetically. Look on the bright side. At least it was Sean you saw, not the director. That would have been even worse. The image of the short, chubby, bald director squatting on the toilet without his pants flashed through my mind, and I couldn't help but shudder. Thanks, Jenna. That actually did make me feel a little better. After a few dry heaves, I stomped my feet in frustration at the bathroom door. Sean, what is wrong with you? Why didn't you answer when we called you? A wounded voice came from inside the stall. I'm not used to talking while I'm pooping. Suddenly, I felt a wave of exhaustion. I didn't want to fight, I didn't want to talk, I just wanted to go home and lie down. Are you done? Can you come out now? Sean sounded even more wronged. I don't have any toilet paper. Does anyone have any? Everyone was silent. Just then, a noise came from the stall next to Sean's. I don't have any paper either. After Keith passed them some paper, Sean finally came out, his face bright red. He kept his head down, looking like he wanted to dig a hole and bury himself in it. The director's stall door opened too. He, however, was perfectly composed, showing no sign of embarrassment. As expected of someone in the entertainment industry, his mental fortitude was impressive. But his calm expression crumbled when he saw Mike. The chubby director, with an agility that defied his body type, leaped behind me and grabbed my wrist in panic. Lucy, it's a ghost. I tried to shake him off, but was surprised to find that the chubby director was incredibly strong. I tried twice but couldn't break free. Not good. This wasn't the strength of a normal person. Watch out. I spun around and yelled at Jenna and Faye, but it was too late. Mike had pulled a dagger from somewhere and was lunging at Faye's chest with a ferocious look on his face. Faye. At the critical moment, Jenna shoved Faye out of the way, losing her own balance and falling to the ground. Faye stumbled and landed right in front of the chubby director. He immediately let go of my hand, pulled a pair of scissors from his pocket, and lunged for Faye's neck. I kicked him away and pulled Faye behind me, shielding her. Mike and the director, their faces twisted with malice and murder in their eyes, charged at us again with the dagger and scissors. It looked like both of them were possessed by demons. I felt for the talismans on me. I only had 3 left. I couldn't use them unless it was absolutely necessary. Jenna, what are you waiting for? Use your thunder medallion. Jenna had a lightning-struck wood medallion. She never went anywhere without. It was a treasure passed down through her line of geomancers. I couldn't help but feel a pang of regret. The ritual tools I usually used were too big to hide on my person. Otherwise, with my 7-star sword and peachwood sword, I could have taken care of these 2 demons in minutes. By the 5 thunders, I command. Jenna slapped the medallion on the chubby director's forehead, while I bit my middle finger and pressed it to Mike's brow. Mike instantly collapsed unconscious. The chubby director fell to the ground, convulsing as if he'd been electrocuted. Without my sight, I was as good as blind, unable to tell if I was dealing with a person or a ghost. Just to be safe, I bit my finger again and drew a protective ward on each person. With this ward, they couldn't be possessed. I looked at my battered fingers, my heart aching. This whole show was turning out to be a massive loss. Not long after I finished drawing the wards, the director and Mike slowly came to. I didn't bother with them. My mind was on Faye. Mike's attack just now was clearly aimed at her. Faye, have you pissed anyone off recently? Faye pressed her wound, her face pale. She had realized it too. This was all a setup. Someone wanted her dead. She shook her head with a bitter smile. With my family's money, there are plenty of people who'd want to kidnap me, but not many who'd want me dead. As a rich kid who did nothing but coast and enjoy life, Faye's family businesses were all managed by professional executives. Most of her money was in a trust fund, so there was no real financial conflict with her cousins. The whole Song family depended on Faye's dad for their livelihood, and he was only 47 this year, in the prime of his life. Even though Faye was an only child and set to inherit everything, her dad was still so young. If something happened to her now, he could easily have another kid. We all thought about it for a while but couldn't figure out who would want Faye dead. Forget it. Let's just take it one step at a time. The most important thing right now is to get out of this godforsaken place. As soon as the words left my mouth, everyone scrambled to hide behind me. The director and Sean even started fighting over who could get closer. After I yelled at them, they finally settled down. I led the way, with Faye right behind me. Then came the director and Mike, with Jenna naturally bringing up the rear. Our group cautiously stepped out of the chapel. By now, the sky was completely dark. There wasn't a single streetlight on the village road. We had to rely on the light of the moon. Dilapidated houses, a silent mountain village, and eerie light. The scene looked exactly like a Chinese horror game. Whoa! Suddenly, a mournful sound drifted through the air, like a wailing ghost. I immediately focused, my eyes wide, staring straight ahead. They were coming. Damn it, Director Chun. Can you please shut up? Faye stopped and slapped the director on the back. This scene is creepy enough. Can you stop with the sound effects? Director Chun didn't get mad about being hit. Instead, he looked aggrieved. But I'm scared. Shut up. I couldn't help but miss the days when it was just me and Faye. This team of deadweights was a real pain to lead. The village was small, with a dozen or so houses built around a central threshing ground. A small river flowed through the west side of the village, lined with willow trees. If you came during the day, the scenery would have been quite nice. Seeing the river, the director tugged on my clothes. I didn't wash my hands after using the bathroom. Can I go wash them? I looked down at the corner of my shirt he was holding, my disgust growing. If you touch me again, I'll let the ghosts get you. I want to wash my hands too. Sean weakly raised his arm. My mouth twitched. Being hygienic at the wrong time will only get you killed. The director seemed to have a thing for cleanliness. Not being allowed to wash his hands made him feel like he was being pricked with needles all over. I led them along the river for a while, but the director couldn't take it anymore. I can't. I have to go wash my hands. He ignored my protests and ran to the riverbank. The moment his hands touched the water, he let out a blood-curdling scream. Help me! Lucy, help me! A pale white hand shot out of the river and grabbed the director's hand tightly. Their fingers intertwined, looking quite romantic and sweet. Faye, Jenna, and I stood on the side, grinning from ear to ear. Director, you're so lucky. Finding romance even in a small mountain village like this. Faye nodded enthusiastically. Director, have you ever heard a goose honk? Serves you right. Serves you right. Jokes aside, we still had to save him. Luckily, the director was surprisingly heavy. He dragged the hand back, his body acting like a counterweight, and managed to hold on without being pulled in. By the five thunders, I command. Jenna slapped her medallion on the water ghost's hand. The ghost was knocked away, and the director was left trembling. Water conducts electricity. He was completely stunned. I didn't chase after the water ghost. Who knew how many other ghosts were lurking in the dark, waiting for us? Protecting Faye was the priority. I led the group on. After walking for a while, a cluster of dark shadows appeared ahead. It looked like a small village. When we reached the entrance to the village, everyone's face turned grim. A huge old camphor tree stood at the entrance, with a metal sign nailed to it that read Clearwater Village. After all that walking, we had just gone in a circle. We were caught in a ghost loop. I looked down at my cut-up fingers, unwilling to bleed myself again. Is anyone here still a virgin? A virgin's urine can ward off evil spirits, so it could naturally break this ghost loop. The director rubbed his chin and asked me a soul-searching question. I've never slept with a woman, but I have slept with a man. Do I still count as a virgin? Everyone fell silent. Faye and Jenna frowned, lost in deep thought. I sighed and rubbed my forehead. Get lost. Next. Keith, though plain and small, turned out to be quite chaste. We all looked at him with newfound respect. I was so excited I walked up and grabbed his hands. Quick, whip it out. Let a rip. Keith fidgeted for a long time and insisted that we all turn around, especially the director, who was strictly forbidden from looking. His face bright red. He walked to the tree and started unbuckling his belt. I listened with my back to him for a long time, but didn't hear the sound of water. Isn't he taking a bit too long to unbuckle his belt? Not good. Something's happened to Keith. I spun around. and my eyes stung as my soul took another 10,000-point critical hit. What the hell, Keith, you pervert? Why are you peeing towards us? Keith was on the verge of tears. I was scared with my back to you, so I turned around. A huge wave of helplessness washed over me. I gestured with a dark expression. Just hurry up. The director sidled up with a sleazy grin. So Keith or Sean, who's hotter? I'm so done. Let whoever wants to save these idiots save them. Let them all be destroyed. I stood there seething, arms crossed, waiting for Keith to do his business. But after 4 or 5 minutes, it was still dead silent behind me. But after what just happened, none of us dared to turn around. Finally, the director volunteered. The moment he turned around, he let out a scream. Something's happened. Keith was gone. A whole living person had just vanished into thin air. He had my blood ward on him, so ordinary ghosts couldn't get near him. Whatever took him was no small fry. I pursed my lips and walked to the tree, a huge sense of unease washing over me. I slapped the old camphor tree. The bark was rough and hard, feeling exactly like a real tree. I felt like I was in a thick fog, with an invisible hand manipulating and toying with us. Plink. A leaf fell on my head. I tilted my neck back, and my pupils contracted sharply. Keith was standing on a thick branch, his eyes wide as he struggled frantically. Someone was holding him from behind, covering his mouth tightly. Seeing me look up, the person simply pushed Keith off the branch. He flicked his hair back, revealing a wide, happy grin, his long, sharp fangs glinting white. I ignored Keith, who had fallen at my feet, and stared intently at the man in the tree. Lucy, my love. Long time no see. Did you miss me? It was Ethan. Ethan the vampire. Ethan floated down from the tree in an impossibly graceful pose, leaning against the trunk and winking at me. You heartless thing. It's been so long, and not even a hello. I backed away like I was facing a major threat. Jenna was just as shocked. A vampire? What's a vampire doing here? Ethan was no ordinary vampire. He had drunk my blood, which gave him the ability to walk in the sun. I didn't have any of my good weapons on me. If a fight broke out, I wasn't sure I could protect everyone else. Ethan strolled leisurely towards us. I shielded the others, backing away step by step. Seeing my defensive posture, Ethan sighed softly. Lucy, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. You and Jenna, would you be willing to join our lunar order? Don't be so quick to refuse. Faye was injured precisely because she refused our invitation. Faye looked at Ethan, a look of dawning realization on her face. Holy crap. It was you guys. I knew about the lunar order. Faye had told me about it once, treating it as a joke. A friend of hers had joined, and she'd become strange and secretive. On the 1st and 15th of every lunar month, no matter how busy she was, she'd rush home for some moon-worshipping ritual. According to Faye, the members of this lunar order were all rich and powerful. The annual membership fee alone was $10 million. And after her friend joined, she did seem to glow with health, looking several years younger. Her friend had been trying to get Faye to join, pestering her every day, making the lunar order sound miraculous. She said that with enough contribution points, you could exchange them for all sorts of magical things. Not only could you become more beautiful and younger, but you could also improve your health, wealth, and luck. At the same time, if you had someone you disliked, the lunar order would step in and teach them a lesson, bringing them great misfortune. It could be anything from public humiliation to financial ruin and family destruction. Faye had ignored her friend, but her friend got desperate. Eventually, she just came out and said that the lunar order had its eye on Faye, and if she didn't join, something bad might happen. Faye, having had enough, blocked her friend. I had originally thought it was just some cult trying to scam people out of their money. But if Ethan was also part of the lunar order, then this order was probably not just a cult, but a coven of dark entities. Had sucking blood rotted Ethan's brain? Why would he ask me and Jenna to join a group like that? Jenna and I looked at Ethan as if he were a complete idiot. Ethan gave a bitter smile. Lucy, you should be glad it was me who came, and not someone else. Join or die. The lunar order is far more powerful than you can imagine. Even if your master were to intervene, it's unlikely she'd get away unscathed. I'll I'll join. The director frantically raised his hand, afraid that if he were a second too slow, Ethan would snap his neck. Ethan rubbed his temples. What does this have to do with you? Someone like you thinks you can join our lunar order? Ethan's words filled me with a great sense of crisis. I could protect myself if I was targeted, but Faye's fighting skills were average and her spiritual arts were barely beginner level. If she became a target, there was no telling how much trouble she'd be in. Seeing my wary expression, Ethan gave me a deep look. Lucy, I know you won't agree. Fine. Consider this a gift from me. Be careful. The next time we meet, I won't hold back. With that, Ethan gave a flourish of his hand, transformed into a giant bat, and flew away. Everyone stared after him, dumbfounded. The director especially had stars in his eyes. It's over. I'm in love. Once Ethan was gone, the large camphor tree and the entire village vanished. Sean let out a sigh of relief. Does this mean we're out? Whoa, why are there so many people? Sean was right. There had been 7 of us, but now there were 14 people standing on the road. I looked at the 2 identical Fays and 2 identical Jennas, feeling dizzy. Each of us now had a perfect copy standing beside us. Oh my God. What the hell, Lucy? What are these things? This is the first time I've ever seen myself from behind. Not bad, kinda good looking. With more than a dozen people talking at once, the quiet mountain village instantly turned into a chaotic marketplace. Jenna walked over to me, her face grim. Lucy, these are all mirror wraiths. Mirror wraiths are a very special kind of demon. They can not only imitate a person's every word and action but also reflect their thoughts, seeing what they're thinking. I started to understand why the Lunar Order wanted to kill Faye. If she died, they could have a mirror wraith take her place. Then, all of Faye's vast fortune would belong to the Lunar Order. Mirror wraiths are rare. You might not find one in 1,000 mirrors, yet there are 9 of them here. This Lunar Order is really something else. The other Jenna had a serious expression, her brows furrowed so tightly you could crush a fly between them. My head ached even more. It seemed the trouble in this little village was far from over, and the problems with the Lunar Order were just beginning. Faye clutched her injured shoulder and walked toward me. Lucy, what now? Although mirror wraiths are experts at imitation, their demonic power isn't very strong. A single 5 thunder talisman could turn them to ash. The appearance of these wraiths was probably just a show of force from Ethan, a little taste of the Lunar Order's power. I turned to face the panicking crowd and cleared my throat. Everyone spread out. Stand 1 meter apart in a circle. Now, the fake Lucy frowned. The danger isn't over yet. What's your intention in having us all separate? This place is full of ghosts and monsters. The more spread out we are, the more likely something will happen. The others looked back and forth between me and the fake Lucy, clearly unsure who to listen to. I sneered, put my hands on my hips, and took a deep breath. By the power of the 5 stars, let light shine upon the darkness. May 1,000 gods and 10,000 saints protect my true spirit. May the demons of the 5 heavens perish and be destroyed. So mote it be. After reciting the exorcism chant, I raised an eyebrow at the fake Lucy. I also know the ghost dispelling chant, the evil smiting chant, and the demon quelling chant. I wonder how you'll handle those. The mirror wraith stomped its foot in frustration, but before its foot even hit the ground, Jenna had already slapped her medallion on its forehead. By the 5 thunders, I command. Its body quickly turned transparent, finally dissolving into a cloud of gray dust. Jenna, invigorated, went around slapping her lightning-struck wood medallion on everyone's foreheads. By the 5 thunders, I command. By the 5 thunders, I command. I command. After she slapped 3 people, the other mirror wraiths let out a scream and fled in terror. Jenna and I could handle mirror wraiths easily, but what about ordinary people? They had no way of telling the difference between a human and a wraith. A powerful mirror wraith would hide in a person's mirror beforehand, imitating their every word and action day after day, even seeing their thoughts. Even the closest family members would have a hard time telling the difference. Watching the wraiths flee, a growing sense of unease filled me. What if many of the powerful and influential people in the world were actually mirror wraiths? The Lunar Order was raising so many of them, they must have a grand scheme. This city, I'm afraid it won't be peaceful for much longer. With the mirror wraiths scattered, I led the group forward. We kept walking and finally got out of the village and onto a main road. The sky was just beginning to lighten. A local bus was slowly making its way down the road toward us. Seeing the bus, everyone's spirits lifted. The director even squatted on the ground. Oh my God, I'm exhausted. I've never walked this far in my entire life. This place is so remote. When we get to town, I'm going to take a hot shower and get a good night's sleep. The bus slowly pulled to a stop in front of us. The door opened, and the director started to get on. I grabbed his arm. Don't get on. My sight still hadn't returned. I couldn't tell if the passengers on the bus were human or ghosts. At this point, I had to admire Ethan and his crew. I'd figured out that they had set up a yin-yang reversal formation in this place. Yin and yang were mixed up, with yang becoming yin and yin becoming yang. Naturally, all our spiritual arts, including my sight, were useless. Setting up a formation wasn't a big deal, but I never expected these guys to be able to create one this large. It was insane. We had been walking in this village all night, from dusk till dawn, and we still hadn't managed to get out of the formation. What do you mean? Is there a problem with this bus? The director instantly pulled his leg back and hid behind me, his bald head peeking out as he watched the bus warily. We didn't get on, but the bus remained stopped. The driver pulled the handbrake, stood up from his seat, and walked over. Folks, this bus only comes by once an hour. I can see you're not from around here. If you don't get on now, you'll have to walk to town. It's still about 20 miles to town from here, and it's all mountain roads. Not an easy walk. I discreetly glanced at the bus window. It was packed with people, a sea of dark heads. No thanks, we'll walk. Seeing my refusal, the driver, who had an honest-looking face, looked a little displeased. Folks, I'm just trying to help you out. Help my ass. By the 5 thunders, I command. Jenna strode forward and slapped her medallion on the driver's dark forehead. Ah! The driver cried out and fell onto the bus steps. He rubbed his forehead, his face red with anger, and sprayed spittle on my face as he yelled. What's wrong with you, young lady? I was just trying to give you a ride, and you hit me with a piece of wood. What's that supposed to mean? You look down on us country folk. Jenna hung her head and apologized profusely. In the end, it was the director who took out $200 bills, which finally shut the driver up. His eagerness to get us on the bus was purely because he wanted to make a little extra cash. We all got on the bus. After it had driven for a while, I felt the world in front of me suddenly open up. We were finally out of this godforsaken place. The director squeezed over to Faye and started laying on the compliments. Miss Faye, you have to help me explain the situation. So many people are missing, and all that equipment was left back in that village. The losses this time are catastrophic. Faye lay back in her chair with her eyes closed, resting, and ignored him. I wasn't in the mood to talk either. My mind was consumed by that bizarre lunar order. This world is about to descend into chaos. End of part 1. Next chapter. I'm a live streamer who gets paid to sleep in haunted houses. If I can prove a house isn't haunted, I get a huge bonus. When a ghost pulls my blanket off, I say I kicked it off myself. When my reflection in the mirror gives a sinister smile, I quickly smile back. Finally fed up, the female ghost appears on camera. I rush over and grab her hand. Oh my God! Auntie, why didn't you tell me you were coming? So let me get this straight. You want me to join you for an overnight stay in a haunted house, and you'll give me $200,000. And if the house sells, the owner gives you $5 million? I stared grimly at the honest-looking young man in front of me, wishing my glare could poke holes in him. Do I look stupid to you? The man's name was Leo, a moderately famous internet streamer. His job was to spend the night in haunted houses. For some notorious haunted houses, owners who didn't want the property rotting on their hands would hire him as an overnight guest, live streaming the whole thing. After a few peaceful nights, some bargain hunters, hoping to score a deal, would buy the property. At the same time, some people who had already bought a haunted house would hire him for a few nights just to be safe. Leo could make money from both buyers and sellers, And during his live streams, he could also earn donations from viewers. The more I thought about it, the greener I got with envy. I wanted to change careers right then and there, steal his job, and cut out the greedy middleman. Hearing me, Leo gave an awkward laugh. Aren't you an exorcist? I thought worldly possessions were meaningless to you. I crossed my arms, a serene look on my face. You're right. I never care about money. We people of the cloth are only concerned with destiny. A $5 million destiny. Leo frowned in thought for a moment, then asked hesitantly, money's not an issue, but that house is extremely dangerous. You need to have real skills. The Blackwood Apartments, Building 18. Have you heard of it? Hearing Building 18, I couldn't help but suck in a sharp breath. My expression turned grim. You mean the Building 18 on Providence Street? That building was infamous, a place that made everyone in the city shudder. Building 18 was very old, one of the first apartment buildings in the area. Its location was prime, right in the heart of the city. The building had 3 floors with 2 apartments on each floor. Back then, it housed a total of 19 people, including the elderly and children. Then, on the night of the ghost moon in 1990, all 19 people in the building died. They were all wiped out in a single night. Some by hanging, some by jumping, a couple who argued and killed each other. The methods of death were bizarre and varied. No one knew what happened that night. But after the incident at Building 18, almost everyone in the entire complex sold their apartments and moved out. Those who couldn't sell would rather rent an apartment in another complex than stay there. Later, that area was zoned for demolition. The entire complex was torn down, leaving only Building 18 standing alone. This was because any demolition worker who got near Building 18 would run into trouble. An excavator suddenly lost control and plowed through a crowd like a headless chicken, crushing several workers in just half an hour. So the building was left standing. As time went on, it became more and more dilapidated, but no one dared to touch it. Once, a group of thrill-seeking youths went exploring in the building. That night, 5 of them went insane, and 3 died. From then on, Building 18 became a forbidden zone in the city. No living person should enter. The place was overrun with ghosts. Leo sighed, his expression a little bitter. Being a haunted house streamer doesn't actually pay that much. For a normal house, you might get a few thousand a night. And every city has a limited number of haunted houses. Sometimes I go a whole month without a single gig. This owner's offer is just too high. If you're not confident, I'll just go by myself. He turned to leave. I lunged and grabbed his sleeve. This place is indeed incredibly dangerous. A 1 in 10 chance of survival. You'll have to pay more. Hearing that there was room for negotiation, Leo visibly relaxed. So a 70-30 split? I put my hands on my hips and glared at him. 50-50. Leo froze, a dazed look on his face for a moment. Then his eyes darted around, and he asked tentatively, so, is that a deal? Deal. As soon as I said deal, Leo quickly transferred $100,000 to me as a deposit, and then bolted. Before he ran out the door, he paused, turned back, and gave me a smug grin. When I said 70-30, I meant you get 70, I get 30. Before I could react, he clutched his head and was gone in a flash. Lucy, what are you doing? When my apprentice, Faye, came out of the bathroom, she found me clutching my chest, sitting on the floor with a look of utter despair. I'm such an idiot. A real idiot. I only knew he said 70-30. I didn't know the 70 he was talking about was for me. I just love to make assumptions. Let me ask you, why did you have to go to the bathroom right when he came to talk business? Faye rolled her eyes and pulled me up from the floor with a look of disdain. I have no idea what's gotten into you this morning. When I told her about the haunted house, Faye shrank back, a guilty look on her face. The owner Leo was talking about, that's my family's real estate company. My family's company acquired that piece of land. A manager, Mr. Liu, asked me if I knew any experts who could help deal with the haunting. But we were at Keith's party then, so I just forgot. I took a deep breath and patted Faye's head lovingly. You were just asking what's gotten into me, weren't you? Well, let me tell you. What's gotten into me is the spirit of cleaning house. Prepare to die, you little demon. After giving Faye a good talking to, I felt a little better. Leo was in a hurry to make money. We had just finished dinner when he pulled up in his car to pick us up. There were two strangers in the car with him, a man and a woman. The round-faced young woman was Leo's girlfriend, and the tall, handsome guy was her older brother. This is my girlfriend, Anna, and this is her brother, Ian. They're mainly here to help with filming. The owner wants a 360-degree, all-around live stream to show the audience that this house isn't haunted. The round-faced girl was a bit shy. When she saw me and Faye, she lowered her head bashfully. I couldn't help but look at her again. She and her brother really didn't look like they were from the same family. One had a round face and almond eyes, the other a long face and phoenix eyes. But they were both quite good-looking. The car drove smoothly for a while, and soon arrived in front of Building 18. It was only just after 8 p.m. Building 18 was separated from the busiest street by just one road, but the atmosphere was completely different. Over there, it was a bustling crowd and flashing neon lights here. It was a howling, eerie wind and a decaying old building. I frowned. The negative energy here is really heavy. Ahem. Leo coughed twice, winking at me desperately. I turned and saw that Ian and Anna were already holding up their tripods and had started the live stream. This building, so big, so straight, so beautiful. I waved a hand toward the camera, a grin stretching across my face to show off all 8 of my pearly whites. Look at that. The ivy covering the walls is so lush and vibrant, so full of life. If plants can grow this well, people who live here will surely thrive even more. Because we were live streaming our challenge of the city's most famous haunted building, tens of thousands of people flooded the stream the moment Ian went live. Hearing me spout such blatant nonsense, the audience was amused, and the comments started flying. My mom always said the prettier the woman, the better the liar. She wasn't wrong. A holy person does not tell lies, but Master Lucy is just an exorcist. What's she done wrong? I don't know if she's thriving, but Leo's face doesn't look so good. I had Ian follow me with the phone as I strode up to the haunted building and enthusiastically introduced it to the audience. We're now on the first floor of Building 18. This building has 3 floors. Don't worry, we'll be staying in every room tonight. Just then, the tightly shut door of room 101 slowly creaked open. The old, groaning sound of wood mixed with the whistling wind was enough to set your teeth on edge and make your knees weak. My heart pounded. I turned to look at the dark doorway. A gust of cold wind swirled out from inside the room, kicking up a vortex of dust and leaves that looked like a miniature tornado. The live stream chat exploded. I opened this stream by accident. If I've offended any spirits, please go after my ex-boyfriend. I just opened my eyes, and I'm already scared back to sleep. Leo might not make it through the night. This house is seriously cursed. That gust of wind, was that the legendary ghost vortex? Anna, though holding the phone, couldn't help but shrink into Ian's arms. Pa. I spat into the ghost vortex. The howling whirlwind instantly vanished, leaving only a pile of leaves and dust on the ground. I cleared my throat and smiled gracefully for the camera. Sorry, my throat was a little dry. Well, this wind is so strong, it blew the door right open. Well, what a fine autumn day. You know what this means? It means this place has great air circulation. With that, I strode forward, pushed the wooden door all the way open, and beckoned to Ian. Everyone follow me. I'll give you a tour of this this beautiful little building. I was the first to step into the haunted building, with Faye close behind. Leo and the other 2 didn't move. Especially Anna. Her feet were moving, but her body was frozen in place. I was speechless. With that level of courage, she wanted to be a haunted house streamer? Faye switched on an incredibly bright flashlight. It was so powerful it was like a small sun had risen in the room. The strong light dispelled the room's terrifying atmosphere, and the true face of room 101 was revealed. It was a cozy 3-bedroom apartment, except for the rope hanging from the old ceiling fan. The rope was tied in a noose, a clear sign that someone had hanged themselves here. After we all came in, the rope suddenly began to sway slowly, as if an invisible person was hanging from it. Anna was on the verge of tears. Did you guys see the rope moving? But there's no wind. I strode forward and fanned my hand vigorously up and down in front of her face. Tell me, is the wind strong? Anna stared at me blankly for a moment before muttering, strong, very strong. I nodded in satisfaction and smiled for the camera. Everyone, look how bright this room is. It wasn't the rope moving just now, it was the wind. The livestream chat went quiet for a moment before the comments started rolling in again. What's the hardest thing in the world? Master Lucy's poker face. A woman's words are a deceptive ghost. If I had Lucy's ability to lie with a straight face, I wouldn't have broken up with my ex-girlfriend. If I were a ghost and was ignored like this, I'd be pissed. Then I'd unleash my ultimate move. Look everyone, here comes the ultimate move. The flashlight's beam suddenly dimmed and started to flicker, hurting my eyes. The once bright room instantly darkened. A bamboo rocking chair by the window began to creak back and forth. Dents appeared one by one on the soft sofa, as if a mischievous child were jumping on it. The old antique TV suddenly turned on and began to play a clip from an opera. I listened closely and recognized it as the Peking opera, Farewell My Concubine. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a family of 4. The child was jumping on the sofa, the wife was swinging from the fan, the old grandmother was rocking in her chair watching TV. The husband was standing behind Anna, blowing on her neck. This guy was clearly a lecherous ghost. After blowing on her neck, he even gave Anna's butt a squeeze. I walked over to her and slapped the male ghost so hard he did a somersault. Anna shuddered, her voice trembling with tears. I just felt a chill all over. My body went stiff, I couldn't move at all. Leo, seeing his girlfriend so scared, was heartbroken. I told you not to come, but you insisted. Ian put his arm around her. Don't be afraid. Big brother is here. I looked at Leo suspiciously. There were 4 obvious ghosts here, and he didn't see anything? After being slapped, the male ghost was lying on the floor, questioning his ghostly existence, unable to get up. Aren't you a professional haunted house streamer? Is this how you investigate, just standing around? Leo nervously glanced around. To be honest, this is the first time I've ever encountered a place this weird. The houses I've stayed in before, at most there were some strange noises, maybe a strong wind and a bit of a chill. Leo must have been scared silly. He'd completely forgotten we were live streaming. This was $2.5 million on the line. I got anxious. I shot him a look, walked over to the sofa, and slapped away the little ghost that was jumping up and down. What's so weird about it? The sofa has dents because it's old. See? A couple of pats and it's good as new. As I spoke, I had already reached the rocking chair. I grabbed the old ghost lying there and tossed her aside. This chair, it's just like the rope. It was blown by the wind. There, the wind has stopped, so it's not moving anymore. Faye watched in awe and gave me a thumbs up. After my cleanup, the room returned to a brief period of quiet, as if everything that had just happened was a shared hallucination. Leo and the others weren't as scared anymore. He scratched his head. I think you're right. Looking at this room now, besides being a little old, there's nothing else. I think I was just scared by its reputation. Haha, you're really brave. I had Leo and the others sit on the sofa, then winked at Faye, signaling her to go get rid of the remaining ghosts. At this point, the male ghost was huddled in the corner with his family, staring at me warily. I was curious about how they had died. The female ghost had been hanged, the old ghost had committed suicide by drinking pesticide. The little ghost seemed to have choked to death, and the male ghost had crisscrossing scars on his wrist, looking like he had slit them. What had happened to this family on the night of the ghost moon? Faye, pretending to be nonchalant, walked to the corner. With her back to us, she secretly pulled out the peachwood sword hidden in her pocket. The ghosts were terrified when they saw the sword. The male ghost grabbed his family and fled out the door. The ghosts in the room were gone, but the heavy, cold energy in the room hadn't diminished at all. I took Ian on a thorough tour of the room, but couldn't find anything out of place. This haunted building was definitely strange. I don't think this haunted building has any ghosts. The room looks perfectly normal now. I agree. If there were really ghosts, would they let Lucy be so bold? There are no such things as ghosts. Otherwise, all those haunted house streamers would be dead by now. If this place isn't haunted, whoever buys this building for cheap is going to strike it rich. This location is prime real estate. The people in the live stream were divided, arguing about whether ghosts really existed. Some people were even quietly asking who the current owner of the haunted building was, and if they were planning to sell. Although there were a few ghosts in room 101, their negative energy wasn't particularly strong. They were just ordinary spirits, so it was easy for me to deal with them. But given the building's oppressive atmosphere, there had to be something big in here, at least a powerful poltergeist. When the fight really started, I had no idea how I was going to explain it to the audience on camera. To earn this $2.5 million, I was really racking my brain. I scratched my head and beckoned to Leo and the others. We're done with this room. Let's go on to the next one. Room 101 had opened its door to welcome us, but the door to 102 was shut tight. I pushed it a couple of times, but the sturdy wooden door didn't budge. There was no way we were going to find a locksmith in the middle of the night. I motioned for everyone to step back, then took out a talisman and stuck it on the door. Ahem, and now for my next trick. By the 9 seals, let all paths be cleared. Open. Click. The lock made a crisp cracking sound, and I pushed the wooden door open with ease. Leo stared at me in shock. Whoa. I heard that. That wasn't a magic trick, was it? Was that a real Taoist spell? Click, clack, crackle. Faye, with a straight face, made 3 more sounds, then lifted her chin at Leo. I made that sound. The door wasn't locked. Lucy and I were just bored and decided to perform a magic trick for you. Leo opened his mouth, looking like he wanted to say something but didn't know what. The live stream chat was also buzzing with discussion. I bet a bag of chips that Lucy opened that door. That was a real spell. Dude, lay off the fantasy novels. If Taoists were that powerful, they'd all be thieves. Yeah, Faye even said she was doing a magic trick. You guys are obsessed with novels. Have a little faith in science. Faye's flashlight had been severely affected by the negative energy in the previous room, and its brightness was greatly reduced. But even though the light was dim, it was enough for us to see inside room 102. The layout of the 2 apartments was identical, but room 102 was more exquisitely decorated. An ornate, European-style sofa, a magnificent crystal chandelier, and even a white grand piano in the southeast corner of the living room. It was clear that the woman who lived here had been a wealthy woman with a taste for the finer things in life. The negative energy in room 102 was noticeably heavier than in 101. Even ordinary people like Leo and his crew could feel that something was wrong. The moment I stepped into this room, I felt incredibly cold. It's a chill that comes from deep inside. Leo rubbed his arms and held them up for me to see. Look, I've got goosebumps. Smack. I slapped his arm away, my face a mask of disappointment. What was wrong with this guy? So unprofessional. Why did he keep forgetting we were live streaming? Goosebumps from what? You feel cold because we were in 101 for half an hour. Of course 9 o'clock is colder than 8 o'clock. Don't you know any basic science? It'll get even colder around 2 or 3 in the morning. Stop making a big deal out of nothing. I shot Leo a harsh glare and directed Ian to start filming the room's layout in detail. Everyone, look, this is the bathroom. Hey, this bathroom is pretty high-end. Wow, this mirror is huge. A loud gasp filled the air. Anna's voice was stuttering. Lucy, did you see that? The live stream chat had already exploded. Everyone was spamming the comments. I was standing in front of the mirror, with Anna and Ian on either side, holding up their phones to film my every move. The me in front of the mirror stood straight, looking graceful and beautiful. The me in the mirror, while just as beautiful, had a completely different expression. My face was blank, but hers was stretched into a creepy smile. This time, even Ian, who had been relatively calm, was panicking. Did you guys see? I turned to him and barked. Shut up. We didn't see anything. Only after I shouted did I realize what was happening. I quickly forced my face into a smile to match the one in the mirror. She smiled, I smiled. She shook her head, I shook my head. Thanks to my quick reflexes and agility, no matter what the ghost in the mirror did, I could instantly follow. I'm shook. Even though Lucy is fast, she's clearly out of sync with the person in the mirror. So scary. God bless America. As a descendant of the dragon, I'm immune to all ghosts. Dude, ghosts are also descendants of the dragon. I still don't believe it. This has to be staged by the production team. That mirror looks like a mirror, but it's actually a screen. The ghost girl got annoyed with my mimicry. After a few more moves, she waved her hand in frustration, and then strands of hair started pouring out of the sink drain. Thick, black, long strands of hair gushed out of the drain, threatening to spill over the edge of the basin. Thud. Anna, still holding her phone, fell backward, having fainted from fright. I quickly whipped out a talisman and, holding it like a cloth, wiped it around the inside of the basin. Wow, this house is so old, the drain is clogged. Look, black water is coming out. The hair was terrified of the talisman. After I wiped it around once, all the strands frantically retreated back down the drain. The sink was clean again. I stuck the talisman to it and shot Faye a look. Wow, this water is so dirty. Did you see that, Faye? Faye nodded her head like a jackhammer. So dirty and black. Looks like we need to call a plumber. Leo and Ian finally snapped out of it and rushed over to help Anna up. Anna, are you okay? After a couple of slaps from Leo, Anna slowly came to. Seeing the people gathered around her, Anna threw her arms around Ian's waist and buried her face in his chest, sobbing. It's so scary. There are ghosts, real ghosts. Leo's expression soured. His eyes met Ian's for a split second before quickly looking away, a hint of shame and anger on his face. Ian gently patted Anna's back, his voice deliberately low. It's okay. Big brother is here. Leo couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up and came over to me, trying to get Anna to leave the live stream. Lucy, the rest of us are enough. Anna is clearly too scared. I'm going to have her go home. I wasn't paying attention to him. My focus was entirely on Ian. Oh my God, what did I just see? Ian was kissing Anna's forehead. That was definitely not something a normal brother and sister would do. I was right. There was something going on between Ian and Anna. Faye saw it too. She was winking at me like crazy, her face about to cramp up. Lucy, look. Drama. I see it. I shot her a look back, then finally turned to Leo. The live stream can't be stopped, right? Who are you going to get to pick Anna up? Anna had finished crying. She wiped her tears and, hearing this, quickly sat up. I'm not going anywhere. Don't you dare try to send me away, Leo. Leo looked at her, exasperated. Anna went over and wrapped her arms around his, pleading, Leo, don't make me go back. I want to stay with you. Faye and I immediately turned to look at Ian. Sure enough, his face was dark, a gloomy look in his eyes. They were probably not biological siblings. Looking at Ian's features, he clearly had the face of someone who lost his mother at a young age. If I wasn't mistaken, Anna's mother had remarried, and Anna had taken her stepfather's last name. They were siblings in name only, with no blood relation. Well, their intimacy certainly made things interesting. Did Leo know about this? We all came out of the bathroom. Faye, ever the gossip, poked Leo's arm. Your girlfriend and her brother are really close, huh? Leo paused at her words, then forced a smile. The bitterness in it was palpable. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I do get a little jealous sometimes, but Anna says I'm an only child and can't understand the bond between siblings. Leo really didn't know. Faye shot me another frantic wink. Not only were we catching ghosts tonight, but we were also catching some juicy drama. Faye was in heaven. Women. Thy name is Gossip. A rich girl from a good family, yet she loved watching drama as much as any old lady from the countryside. I shot Faye a disdainful look, but my feet couldn't help but take a couple of steps closer to Leo. Do tell. Let me in on it too. Leo mechanically turned his head. To his left stood a female ghost in a red silk nightgown. Her face was deathly pale, and her neck was bent at a grotesque angle, hanging on her shoulder like a broken doll. I want to hear too. The other female ghost, on his right, was leaning directly on his shoulder. She was wearing a black dress and an apron. Her features were delicate, but her face was covered in scars. The crisscrossing scars divided her beautiful face into a checkerboard, a truly gruesome sight. Crap. The gossip had attracted two female ghosts. Anna's eyes rolled back, and she fainted into Ian's arms again. Ian was also terrified, his face even paler than the ghosts. There's a veil between the living and the dead. Ordinary people can't see ghosts. Even if one passes by, you'd only feel a cool breeze. But these two ghosts clearly had some power they were able to manifest in front of people. Since Leo and the others could see them, it meant the hundreds of thousands of viewers on the live stream could see them too. No, I couldn't let all my hard work go to waste. That was $2.5 million. Before anyone could react, I lunged forward, pouncing on the ghost like a hungry tiger. The ghost was stunned, clearly not expecting me to be so bold as to charge at her instead of running away. With lightning speed, I grabbed her hands and shook them up and down. "Oh my God, Auntie. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? I'm at work, you know." I held her hands with my left hand and with my right, pulled a talisman from my pants pocket, holding it between my fingers. "Look at you, you've gained weight." My right palm was pressed against the ghost's stomach, but my eyes were fixed on hers, filled with menace. Humans have a dantian, and ghosts have a ghost core. Any ghost with some level of power stores all its ghostly energy and malevolence in its core and heart. If I slapped this talisman on her, she'd suffer damage to her ghostly form and lose all her powers at best. At worst, she'd be completely obliterated, never to be reborn. Faye had subdued the other ghost in a similar fashion. She wrapped her arm affectionately around the ghost, one hand pressed against her ample chest. "Auntie number 2. Honestly, we told you Lucy and I were working, and you still came all the way here to find us." The ghost in red looked at me in alarm, then gritted her teeth and forced a kind smile. "Ah, your second aunt, and I just haven't seen you in so long. We missed you." Leo stood there, uncertain, looking back and forth between the two ghosts, then finally at me, as if about to say something. Ghosts don't walk like people. Their feet don't touch the ground, so their soles naturally droop a little. I stomped hard on the ghost's pretty white leather shoes, pressing her foot firmly to the ground. "Come on, Leo, come and meet my great aunt. Oh, and my second aunt." It wasn't just Leo, even the viewers on the live stream were confused. My scream got stuck in my throat. I almost couldn't breathe. "I'm a little confused. Is that a ghost or his aunt?" "You idiot, of course it's Lucy's aunt. Didn't you see the woman acknowledge her? Why would a ghost randomly claim relatives?" Anna had woken up. Seeing the ghost in red claim to be my aunt, her eyes widened in surprise, and her face flushed, clearly embarrassed for mistaking my relative for a ghost. "Lucy, I'm so sorry. I waved my hand magnanimously, though my eyes betrayed a hint of pain. It's not your fault. My great-aunt had a very large tumor on her neck before. She had surgery to remove it, but her neck has been like this ever since." As for my second aunt, I looked at the ghost's scarred, checkered face, at a loss for what kind of accident could have caused that. My second aunt sighed, "Let's not talk about sad things." Faye and I escorted the two ghosts to the side while Leo and the others sat on the sofa, looking at each other, all three of them completely bewildered. "What's going on with this house? If you don't explain, I'm going to start filming." The ghost glanced upstairs in terror, as if there was something up there that she was deeply afraid of. I don't know." Faye held up the talisman between her fingers, her eyes full of threat. "And you? You don't know either?" The ghost in black shrank back, clearly terrified of the talisman in Faye's hand. She hesitated for a moment, then suddenly pushed Faye with all her might. Faye, caught off guard, stumbled. As I reached out to help her, the ghost in red took the opportunity to flee. The two ghosts, one after the other, vanished before our eyes like a gust of wind. "Whoa, arguing is wrong. You shouldn't always fight with your uncle-in-law. You've been married for so long." I quickly backtracked, speaking so fast I nearly bit my tongue. Leo walked over and looked at me, his eyes filled with a pure, innocent confusion. "Why did your aunts suddenly run off so fast?" I waved my hand nonchalantly. "Oh, they argue all the time. One runs, the other chases. Don't worry about them." When the ghosts ran, Leo had been busy staring daggers at Ian and hadn't noticed. But Anna had diligently kept the phone aimed at us, so the live stream viewers had seen everything clearly. Whoa. I'm not the only one who saw that, right? Those two didn't run out, they floated out. I saw it too. Their feet were at least 8 inches off the ground. So his aunt's no kung fu? Was that Qigong, floating on water? Idiot. Floated my ass. Those were clearly ghosts. With no more ghosts in room 102, I had no choice but to lead Leo and the others upstairs. The building was old, so it had no elevator, just a staircase on the left and right sides. Faye and I led the way, with Leo and the others following behind. The stairs were wide, able to accommodate 3 or 4 people at once. Faye and I had barely taken 2 steps when a black object came rolling down the stairs. We quickly sidestepped, and the black ball came to a stop in front of Leo. He bent down and picked it up, muttering, "Why is there a ball here?" He stopped mid-sentence, because what he was holding wasn't a ball at all, but a human head. The little girl was cute, with short hair, but even the cutest child looks a bit scary when it's just a head. Anna fainted again, falling stiffly to the ground. Ian didn't even bother to catch her. "Big brother, please put me back. My body can't find my head, it must be so worried." For a head, it was surprisingly polite. Faye and I stood on either side of the staircase, frantically signaling to each other. "Quick, make something up. Make up some crap to fool them. Damn it, how do I spin this?" "You do it." Faye was useless. I glared at her, my disappointment palpable. "Oh, this doll, it's so lifelike. And it can even talk." I had just taken the head from Leo when a whole series of children's heads came rolling down the stairs. There were heads with short hair, pigtails, and shoulder-length hair. Just looking at the heads, I couldn't quite tell the ages of these little girls, but they all looked to be under 10. I stared at the 3 round heads, my mind going blank for a second. Oh, so many dolls. A cute little girl must live upstairs. Faye picked up the heads from the stairs one by one, holding them in her arms as she nonchalantly walked up. "Run. Grandma's coming." One of the heads suddenly let out a piercing scream, and the other 2 quickly joined in. They flew up from my and Faye's hands and shot downstairs. "Ha ha ha, so high-tech. These dolls have drones in them." I gave a weak laugh, and was about to say more when a thud sounded. Anna, who had just woken up, had fainted again. "You damn money pits. Hated when you were alive. And just as annoying now that you're dead." A small, frail old woman shot out of room 201. She had white hair and a wrinkled face. Her cheekbones were high, and the corners of her mouth drooped, giving her the look of a mean, unapproachable person. She was surprised to see us, then sneered. "It's been years. Looks like this house is about to get some new ghosts." I couldn't help but sigh. This lady, she really talked a lot. By now, the number of viewers on the live stream was skyrocketing. Someone had posted an old newspaper article about the incident, which featured a picture of this very woman. I was wrong to look down on Anna before. If I were there, I would have fainted more times than she has. Something just broke. Oh, it was my worldview. Mom, there really are ghosts in the world. Why aren't Lucy and the others running yet? I'm so stressed. Since you're here, you can all stay. The old woman roared, her fingers suddenly forming claws as she stretched her arm out to grab me. Her arm was like something out of One Piece. She was still 6 feet away from me, but her fingers were already right in front of my face. I dodged to the side, pushed off with my foot, and launched myself at the old ghost like a cannonball. The ghosts in this house were all very strange. Given the time of their deaths and the building's heavy evil energy, the ghosts inside should have been powerful poltergeists at the very least. But this old ghost, just like the one in red from room 102, looked intimidating at first, but was a total paper tiger in a fight. I didn't even have to try hard. With just a few moves, they would scramble away. Before she ran, the old woman didn't forget to throw a threat over her shoulder. "You just wait. When the master comes out, you'll all end up like those other young people dead." "The master?" Faye and I exchanged a look, a silent warning passing between us. There really was something big in this building. The old woman called it the master. Could it be a centuries-old ghost? Leo and the others stumbled over. Ian, carrying the completely unconscious Anna on his back, collapsed to his knees in front of me as his legs gave out. Just now I saw everything." Ian's face was white. He was so terrified that even his lips were trembling. "No, you didn't see anything." I helped him up and shot him a stern look, my eyes full of warning. No one was going to stop me from making money. Under my stern gaze, Ian and Leo both lowered their heads and said nothing more, but they both instinctively moved to stand behind Faye. I glanced at the dark, gloomy hallway and shot Faye a look. We're skipping 202. We're going straight upstairs to meet this master. Leo was on the verge of collapsing. He grabbed my arm, his face even more ghostly than the ghosts. Are you crazy? That ghost just now, ahem. That old woman said there's a master upstairs. Master of what? I'm a master too. I pushed Leo aside, shoving him behind me. I pulled out my peachwood sword and resolutely started up the mottled staircase. Stay behind me, and stay close. Faye also drew a 7-star sword with an ancient patina. The blade even had some rust on it, a clear sign of its age. She had bought it at an auction for over $10 million. This girl, her collection of magical artifacts was no less impressive than mine. So rich, and yet she never thought to contribute to the school. I felt a little sour, but then I thought of Jenna, who was so poor she didn't have 2 coins to rub together, and I cheered up immediately. Heh, not as good as some, but better than others. After a few steps, I noticed something was wrong. The negative energy on the upper floor was so thick it had materialized into a gray fog. Faye was less than a meter behind me, but when I turned around, I couldn't see her face clearly. Leo, Ian, are you guys there? Faye turned to ask, and then a powerful force slammed into her, sending her crashing into the wall. I lit a talisman, temporarily dispelling the surrounding fog. Only then did I realize that Leo and Ian were fighting. Ian was on top of Leo, his hands wrapped tightly around his neck. And Leo, pinned to the ground, was not giving up, his hands also squeezing Ian's neck. Their veins bulged on their foreheads from the effort, their eyes wide. At this critical moment, Anna finally woke up. Faye nudged me with her elbow and grinned. Lucy, you know how to describe heavy rain without using the word rain? I looked at her blankly. What? Seeing the 2 men strangling each other, Anna pushed herself up from the ground, leaning on the wall for support. She jumped up and down, her voice plaintive and tearful. Stop. Both of you, stop. Don't fight anymore. Stop fighting. Stop it. Hearing these familiar lines, Faye stood to the side, clutching her stomach, laughing so hard she couldn't stand up straight. This idiot, she spent all her time watching weird TV shows. Just as I was about to step in and pull them apart, Anna shouted something shocking. I like both of you. Can't the 3 of us just live happily together? Why does it have to be this way? Wow, this is intense. I glanced at Leo's face, which was turning white. At this rate, it would take at least 3 minutes of strangling before one of them died. Faye pulled a handful of sunflower seeds from her pocket and handed them to me, spitting shells everywhere as she ate. This fog is weird. Is there something in it that's making them want to kill each other? I sniffed the air. The fog wasn't just filled with negative energy, there was also malevolent energy, and an evil aura. The evil aura was a particularly strange type of feng shui energy. It could amplify the evil in a person's heart, making all their malicious thoughts sprout and grow into towering trees. That's why Leo and Ian were fighting. I frowned. Maybe the massacre on the night of the ghost moon was also caused by this evil aura? The show was getting good, but it was time to end it. Faye reluctantly stepped forward and separated Leo and Ian. They both collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath, but still glaring at each other with hatred. You don't deserve Anna. I've loved her for 20 years, ever since I first saw her when I was 7. Faye and I quickly turned to look at Leo. He sneered, then spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva. So what if you love her? Your names are on the same household register. Besides, your parents are very happy with me. This year, for the holidays, my parents are coming over to propose. Ian's laugh was even colder. You won't marry Anna because you're going to die here tonight. Leo's eyes were chilling. He smirked and shot Ian a disdainful look. I know you deliberately set me up with this job. You want me to die in this haunted building, right? You think I don't know why I agreed to come here? Because tonight, you're the only one who's going to die. Faye and I shook our heads like bobbleheads, looking back and forth between Leo and Ian. Finally, we both turned our heads to look at Anna, who was kneeling on the side. Anna held her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. You're going to kill each other over me? But what did I do wrong? Can't I just have 2 men who like me at the same time? Men can have 3 wives and 4 concubines, so why can't I? Why? Faye nodded in agreement. Yeah, why not? I rolled my eyes. Because of the laws of this state concerning bigamy. Are you done with your drama? Because if you are, I'm getting back to work. I took out talismans and stuck them on the chests of Leo, Anna, and Ian. They all shuddered, their eyes instantly clearing. Once they were lucid, they all lowered their heads in unison. Anna even closed her eyes and played dead. The evil aura had dissipated, but their memories remained. Now they were living through their own massive, public humiliation. I took out a handful of salt and carefully drew a circle on the ground, then snapped a chalk line along the wall. All right, you guys stay here on the stairs. Remember, no matter what you see, do not leave this circle. Faye took their phone to continue the live stream. Only then did I remember I was still on the clock. I decided to pretend that the salt and chalk line incident never happened. Faye and I started up the stairs again, heading for the 3rd floor. The higher we went, the thicker the ghost fog became. But the fog was also a good thing. The viewers on camera couldn't see anything, which meant I could make up whatever I wanted. The fog is so thick. My house is just across the street from this haunted building. Why is there no fog at my place? Because that's the haunted building. I'm starting to think this place is really haunted. The drama with Leo was definitely not scripted. I'm thinking of going to the haunted building to watch. Anyone want to join? I live near Providence Street. Can you pick me up on your way? Thanks. Faye and I were focused on walking and didn't notice the growing number of people in the live stream who were planning to come and see the haunted building for themselves. A few ghosts suddenly floated past us. They had dyed yellow hair and were wearing tight skinny jeans, their hair covering half of their faces. They looked at us curiously, then backed away in fear when they saw the peachwood sword in my hand. Hey, don't run. Hey, I wanted to ask them what was going on. But as soon as I got close, the ghosts fled downstairs as if their lives depended on it. These young people, they looked like the ones who had come exploring in the haunted building a few years ago and died. But why were their ghosts still here instead of moving on? I continued up the stairs, lost in thought. Don't go any further. Stop. A deep male voice called out. A pale white hand shot out of the concrete floor and grabbed my ankle. Then the ghost of a middle-aged man around 40 floated halfway out of the floor. He glanced behind him nervously and said to us again, "Go back. If you want to live, leave now." I pulled the ghost out of the floor. He was stunned when he saw my peachwood sword. Then a bitter smile appeared on his face. Fine. It's better to die at your hands. I've had enough of being a ghost. Life is too hard, and being a ghost is no easier. This world, I'm not coming back for the next life. I didn't expect this. The ghost looked rough and tough, but he was actually quite poetic. Sir, do you know what happened on the night of the ghost moon in 1990? The ghost nodded, his eyes filled with a weary wisdom. Ido. I caused it all. My name is William Peterson. I was a carpenter, and I lived here in room 302. No. You have a friend, his name is William Peterson, and he lives in room 302 in some city. The ghost was taken aback. He didn't know why I was saying this, but he didn't argue. He nodded and continued. Fine. I have a friend. He's a carpenter. William went on, and the live stream chat was just as lively. What is Lucy so insistent about? I'm kind of touched. We know she's lying. She knows we know she's lying. We know she knows we know she's lying, but she's still going to lie. If I had a third of Lucy's persistence when I was in sales, I would have been top of my game. Better to anger the king of hell than to cross an old carpenter. If just one person in this building had heard that saying, the tragedy of this haunted building might never have happened. William's family were all honest, simple people. His parents were timid, his wife was introverted, and his son was always meek and submissive. Good people are often bullied, and William's family was bullied mercilessly by their neighbors. His son was in the same class as the boy from room 101. That boy was a real troublemaker, and often bullied William's son. William's family went to complain several times, but they were always met with sarcastic remarks and driven away. The boy from 101 bullied his son, even more severely. His son, unable to take it anymore, slit his wrists and killed himself. After his son's death, the neighbors didn't comfort him. Instead, they mocked him and his wife, saying it was karma for being bad people, that they deserved to have their family line cut off. William's wife couldn't handle the blow and threw herself into the river. His parents, devastated by the news, had a stroke and a cerebral infarction, respectively, and never left the hospital. In just 1 month, his once happy family was destroyed. William snapped. When an honest man gets angry, it's often the deadliest. He was not only an excellent carpenter but also a practitioner of an ancient form of craft magic. He used his own blood to set up a feng shui formation in the building, amplifying its evil and malevolent energies. On the night of the ghost moon in 1990, the evil and malevolent energies in the building reached their peak. The child in 101 choked to death while eating. His father, blaming his wife for not watching the child, hanged her. The woman in 102 caught her husband having an affair with the maid and was killed by her husband, who broke her neck. She happened to be wearing a red dress when she died and immediately became a vengeful spirit, killing her husband and the maid, and even slashing the maid's face with a knife. The family in 201 had 3 daughters but no sons. The mother-in-law constantly abused her daughter-in-law, and one night, she accidentally killed her. The 3 children witnessed the tragedy. To keep them from talking, the mother-in-law and her son cut off the 3 girls' heads. What William hadn't expected was that the building, having absorbed so much resentment and malevolent energy from the 18 deaths in one night, had actually come alive. Faye's jaw dropped. The building came alive? I smacked her on the head. Strictly speaking, it became a monster. Animals become demons, plants become spirits, and inanimate objects become monsters. Ahem, but that's all just stuff from novels. Everyone should believe in science. There are no such things as ghosts in this world. I changed the subject and turned to William. After the building became a monster, did it trap all of you here to continuously feed on your resentment and malevolent energy? William nodded. I continued. You're keeping us here talking because this building monster has to cultivate its power and can only come out at the witching hour, right? You want to stall for time so that we'll be trapped here forever, just like you, right? William nodded out of habit, then realized his mistake. He was about to jump up, but I slapped him to the ground. Faye, run. But it was too late. The time had already reached 11 o'clock at night. The witching hour. A time when dark energy runs rampant. The plasterboard on the ceiling suddenly fell, crashing down behind me. To avoid being hit by the falling debris, Faye and I were forced to run toward room 302. The entire house seemed to come alive. The hallway turned into a steep slope, and Faye and I couldn't keep our footing, sliding down toward one side. The door to 302, as if it had grown legs, moved quickly toward us. As we slid down, the door swung open and caught us both. Creak. After Faye and I slid into the room, the door slammed shut, and the building returned to normal. Welcome, my guests. The fluorescent lights in the room flickered on. Faye and I squinted and saw a young man sitting on the sofa. This young man's appearance was hard to describe. I had never seen anyone so square. A rectangular face, rectangular eyebrows, rectangular eyes, and a rectangular body. He looked like a Lego figure that had come to life. It was just bizarre. This building monster's body was incredibly hard. My peachwood sword was useless. I put it away and switched to my lightning talismans, shouting at the monster. Uncle-in-law number 2. You shouldn't have hit my second aunt. Faye was dumbfounded. She blinked a few times, a look of complete confusion on her face. But even more confused than her was the building monster. Friends in the audience, this is my second uncle-in-law, a domestic abuser. My second aunt came to me because he hit her. Now I'm going to beat him up to get justice for my aunt. Uncle-in-law, taste my fist. As I spoke, I had already leaped high into the air, charging at the building monster. Faye was on the verge of tears. She threw the phone aside. What time is it for this? Can you please stop thinking about your live stream? This building monster was incredibly strong. Getting hit by it felt like being slapped with a steel plate. After a few exchanges, I knew I couldn't beat him. Physical attacks weren't working. It was time for some magical damage. Faye, the Stormbreaker Hex. Hearing this, Faye immediately kicked the door open and sprinted out. The building monster panicked at the mention of the hex, and his attacks became even more ferocious. Everything in the room started flying at me: lamps, coffee tables, sofas, the TV. I was hit by a solid wood coffee table and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. At a critical time like this, I couldn't be stingy anymore. I did a kip up from the floor and started throwing the talismans from my pocket at the monster like they were free. Uncle-in-law, take this. 6 Jia Spirit Dispelling Talisman. 3 Heavens Divine Thunder Talisman. 7 Stars Ghost Shattering Talisman. These were my precious treasures, my collection from over the years. This trip to the haunted building was a huge loss. I threw the talismans, my heart aching with each one. I ran and ran until I realized the front of my shirt was soaked in blood. I wiped a hand across the blood and, as I ran, smeared it on the walls and furniture. Sure enough, the building monster couldn't command the things I had marked with my blood. Gradually, the entire room was covered in my bloody handprints. And I was running out of steam. Crack. Just as the building monster kicked me to the ground, a clap of thunder echoed from the sky. Boom. The thunder roared, and a crack opened in the ceiling. The building monster's face changed. Heavenly thunder was the bane of all evil things. The moment the thunder struck, the barrier he had created shattered. The ghosts trapped in the building fled in a frenzy. But a disturbance this big would surely attract the reapers. Then, all these ghosts would be taken away by them. They couldn't run far. But the building monster couldn't escape. He and the building were one. If the building stood, he stood. If the building fell, he would be destroyed. More and more lightning rained down from the sky. Chunks of concrete and bricks fell from the ceiling. I ducked and weaved through the room. Just as I ran out, I saw Faye rushing toward me, her face anxious. Lucy, the building is collapsing. What about Leo and the others? They've already gotten out. I breathed a sigh of relief. I grabbed Faye and was about to run when the staircase collapsed with a roar. The floor of the hallway split down the middle. Stones rained down from the ceiling, kicking up clouds of dust. Faye, jump. What the hell? This is the 3rd floor. Faye hesitated, not daring to jump. I made a split-second decision, scooped her up, and threw her down. There was an old locust tree in front of the haunted building, with thick branches and lush leaves. Faye landed on a branch, breaking 2 of them before she finally managed to steady herself. I pushed off the railing, leaped high into the air, and aimed for the top of the tree. Just as we both jumped clear of the building, it collapsed behind us with a deafening roar, turning into a pile of rubble. I slid down the tree, exhausted, and collapsed on the ground, too tired to even lift a finger. Whoa, Lucy, there are so many people here. Faye limped over and pointed behind me. Only then did I realize that the street across from us was packed with people. Everyone was staring, their mouths agape, looking completely shocked. Just then, a familiar figure pushed through the crowd and strode toward us. Jenna? What was she doing here? Jenna walked quickly up to me, then carefully pulled a pack of tissues from her pocket. She spread the tissues on the ground. Inside was a dead cockroach, the size of a thumb. The cockroach had clearly been squashed by a shoe. Its flat body was even trailing a string of guts. So groß. After placing the cockroach, Jenna grabbed my foot, lifted it up, and stomped it down on the cockroach. Rochi. Are you okay, Rochi? Lucy. You stepped on my Rochi. This was a poison king I had been carefully cultivating for 81 days. You're going to pay for this. I really didn't have the energy to argue with this idiot. Did she think I was stupid enough to fall for this scam? Seeing that I wasn't responding, Jenna didn't seem embarrassed at all. She pulled out a sheet of A4 paper from her pocket. The first line read in bold letters, Gu King Compensation Agreement. She then pulled out an ink pad, grabbed my hand, pressed it onto the pad, and then onto the paper. She held the paper up, blew on it, and then looked at me with a grin. Lucy, you've signed and sealed it. Come with me. I've already bought the plane tickets. This psycho, always up to some crazy scheme. Go where? To the Louisiana Bayou. You killed my poison king, so you have to go to the bayou and catch a new one for me. Get lost. What? We're leaving right now? Okay. Jenna turned and snapped her fingers. Her assistant, Ethan, immediately came over with 2 wheelchairs. She pushed me into one, and Ethan helped Faye into the other. I cursed my luck. Not only was I exhausted from the fight, but I had also lost a lot of blood. My vision was still swimming with black spots. Ethan, let's go, let's go. We'll miss our flight. Jenna ignored my protests and pushed the wheelchair at top speed. Hey, at least take me to get some late-night snacks to replenish my blood. I'm starving. Jenna, you idiot. Just wait until I get my strength back. I'll beat you so hard you'll be spitting up New Year's dinner. The end.